Hi guys, it's Jordan from B&B Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on your LNAG. It's a Sea NewLife. It's part of the same company. So Sea NewLife, based on the Fiat Ducato, and we'll start under the bonnet. So we've got your washer fluid on the left hand side at the top, power steering fluid just behind that down here, and your engine coolant. Brake fluid is up here in this reservoir just above there, and your engine oil filling point is just here at the top of the engine. You then got your engine oil dipstick below that. Your paint code, which is the white colour, 249. That's a very standard paint colour. Got your chassis plate there, 4 ton. And it just tells you which oil is suggested for the engine. We've then got because the engine battery sits under the floor in the cab in front of the passenger seat on these chassis, you've got a positive terminal for the engine battery here, and an earthing point or a negative terminal just here, meaning that you can jump start the vehicle from under the bonnet here rather than digging around in the cab. Just inside the passenger door, you've got your bonnet release handle just there, and possibly a couple of electrical bits under here, but no. So you've got your jack and wheel brace under this near side passenger seat, and I know that the leisure battery sits underneath this driver's seat here. I will run you through a few extra bits on the driver's side in a minute, but we'll get there when we get there. Diesel filling point is just behind this nice cover in here. Your waste drain off point, find where the handle is, just here. So if you want to drain out your wastewater, pull that handle out towards you and the wastewater will come out from that point just down there. Fresh water is behind this little cap just here. When you want to lock it, you basically push it in and round to the right until it stops. Pull the little flap over and lock it here with the key. That's your freshwater filling point. Next door to that, we've got the boiler vent. So if you had the boiler lit up on gas, you would be able to feel warm air coming out through either side of this vent just here. And that's just to double check that it's definitely working. Absolutely huge rear garage slash sleeping area. So I have sorted this bed out since you last saw the vehicle. So essentially to make this into the big garage, all you would need to do is take this cushion off here and probably pop it underneath, and then lift this piece of wood up so that this little catch here meets up with that button there, so that once you've got it all the way up, you can lock it in position with that and then have this entire section here, floor to ceiling, as a garage, which obviously means it's also closed off from the inside. So there is heating under here. This little vent just here is a heater vent. Other than that, that's about it really for that sort of side. At the rear of the vehicle, we have got the toilet cassette locker. So to actually remove the cassette, lift up on the little yellow tab in here and pull the whole cassette towards you. You can then take the entire thing out. All you need to know really is that you empty the cassette out from here. So you take this cap off and empty it from there. When you're physically emptying it, you should be holding down the little yellow button. And that's about it really. Once you've emptied it out, you put a cap full of the blue fluid back inside here, swoosh it around, push it all the way back. So that is the toilet cassette locker. It's a little bit tight on this offside here at the moment, but so we've got your habitation door here. The awning winder is just here inside the door. These two vents just here are both to do with your fridge. So if you had the fridge lit up on gas, you should be able to feel a little bit of warm air coming out through the top right hand side of this top vent, and that basically just allows you to know that it's definitely working. Your hookup point is just here behind this little cover. So the hookup goes in there. That will then give you access to using anything that's sort of household appliances, 240 volt related. this needs to be plugged in. That'll also turn on your battery charger as soon as you plug it in as well. So that is that. And the last locker is your gas locker. So you've got a couple of ways of using this system. So you've got a refillable gasset bottle here and a standard LPG 6 kilo propane. So it looks to me like the gasset bottle is empty at the moment, or at least it's very, very nearly empty, because I know there is a little bit of gas in it. But the idea is, if you wanted to use the refillable gas, then you can basically just fill it up from this little point here. Right, so you just fill that up and that'll fill the bottle up, and you can carry on using that one. Or if you don't have access to filling it up somewhere, you can just use this little 6 kilo here. When you turn this on, they're both connected in a T-piece here, so they'll both feed the regulator and both feed the van with gas. So it depends which one you want to use. It doesn't matter. You can have them both on if you want to, because that regulator will still regulate to 30 millibar before it goes into the vehicle. So it doesn't really matter if you have them both on. But that's the idea. It just means that you can switch between the two, and if you can't get one or the other, you know, you've always got another option. So that's why they've done that. So that's your gas locker. Always turn the gas bottles off before you start driving. Other than that, it's pretty easy, really, pretty straightforward. Okay, so inside the driver's door, you have got an inverter behind here. And I will just say, I personally don't ever really recommend inverters, because they do draw a lot of power from the leisure battery. So what an inverter does, if you weren't aware, is it inverts or converts the 12 volt power from the leisure battery all the way up to 240 volts. So like a plug socket, basically, 240 volt plug socket. And the issue with that is, if you imagine, you know, changing from 12 volt to 240 volt means that it draws however many times over that amount of power that is sort of made to draw. So after not much time at all, the leisure battery there will go flat. You know, it's not a case of if it will, it just will. So in my opinion, if you want to use that inverter there, which there is a plug on the side of it just there, if you want to use that, you can, obviously, but just be careful and keep your eye on the battery voltage, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. Okay, in the cab itself, you've got a 6-speed manual gearbox, which is always a big bonus. All of your heat controls are just there in the middle, temperature dial on the left, and where you want the air to blow to on the right. You've got a couple of sockets in there, 12 volt sockets. The hazard lights are from here, right in the middle. You can lock and unlock the cab from inside, and you have got your ASR switch just there. The lights go on and off from this left-hand stalk just here, and your washers and wipers are on the right. You've then also got your electric adjusting mirrors from here. So you basically select which mirror you want to move. So if you wanted to move the top right hand one, the big one there, you would select this little one here and then move this around as and where you need to move it to. Big glove box here, as well as the other one next door to it. Got some paperwork in here, that's the original Fiat stuff. So I'll just open this up. What we got? Service book. There you go. So all of the bits and pieces that you should need are in here. A few extra bits and pieces to do with the actual motorhome side of things as well. And there you go. Right, so I'm just going to jump into the habitation door now. Show you what we've got going on inside. Okay. So inside the actual motorhome itself, a little bit scruffy at the moment. We haven't cleaned the inside of it just yet, but we're getting there. So above the wardrobe door here is the first thing I'm going to show you, because that's your control panel. So it's a CBE control panel, as it tells you down here. So CBE make hundreds and hundreds of different control panels and parts for motorhomes. They're a very, very big company. tend to be very, very reliable. We don't tend to find many issues with their products whatsoever. So the main on and off switch for this control panel is this top right hand side one, and once you've turned that on, everything that's 12 volt related should then sort of come to life. So light switches, there you go, so there's your light up there. And which else is that? What other light is that doing? Any others? It may well just be that light there, like an entry light. That's why they put it next to the door. So yeah, once you turn that main power switch on, you'll then have power to all of the sort of 12 volt stuff. You have got a socket down here as well, which turns this light on and off. Has got a manual switch on it as well. So yeah, so once you turn that on, all your lights will work. If you've got an awning light, that'll be the awning light switch just there. And your water pump switch is the one at the bottom there, which is on at the moment. The fact that it's on and the pump isn't running is always a really good sign as well. That means that there's no leaks and that you're up to pressure. So if you turn this pump switch on, 9 times out of 10, the pump will run for about sort of 10 seconds or so, get to pressure, turn itself off. That's what you want. All right. So the reason for that is your freshwater tank is down here underneath this seat, as well as the water drain will be down there as well, the fresh drain. But the water pump itself is what we would call an inline pump, which means that it basically works on pressure, so it will not turn itself off until it gets to the right pressure. So the fact that that's on and not running, like I said, means that it's up to pressure. There's no leaks, there's no air in the system, so that's all good. But the first thing you need to do really, if you want to use the boiler and you want to get the water hot and all that sort of stuff, you need to just come to the tap here with the pump switched on, assuming you've got water in the fresh tank, this is, and just basically pull the tap. So start on cold, wait for the water pump to kick in, there you go, and then go to the hot. You can hear just a little bit of air there. Now I'm happy that that's okay, that's up to pressure. Turn it off and you should hear the pump switch off. There you go, it's already off. So that is perfect. So doing that tells us that the boiler is full of water, because same goes for if you turn the pump on and the boiler didn't have any water in it, that pump would not turn off until the boiler is full. All right. So that's really important, because if you try and light the boiler up, try and get some hot water around, and there's no water in the boiler, you're going to overheat it and you'll be forking out for a new boiler, which you do not want to do. So it's really important just to make sure that the boiler's full of water. Just by doing that, if the boiler wasn't full of water, you'd get absolutely nothing coming out of that hot tap there. All right. If you find that you don't get any water coming out through the hot side of the tap, all you need to do is really simple. All you need to do is make sure that you've got fresh water in the tank, which I'll show you in just a sec. And if you do have fresh water in the tank and there's still no water coming through to the hot tap, make sure that your little yellow tab just down here is laying down flat like it is now. If that was lifted upright, facing vertical, all the water inside this boiler here would be draining out onto the floor. All right, so that's your boiler drain. So that's it, that's all you have to do. That's the only two things that it could be, really. So if you want to check the fresh water level, press this little bottom left-hand button here, and it'll come up here telling us the amount of water in the tank. So you're looking at the bottom scale here. So, the top scale, not the bottom one. So you're in the reserve here, all right? So you've got third full, 2/3, and full, right? So if we try that again, there you go. And then press it again, it should, oh no, it doesn't. Right, so that's just your fresh water level. So press that button there and it'll show us how much water's in the tank. So at the moment we know from that scale there that we're pretty much empty and that we could do with some more water in the tank. The next two buttons above that is your battery voltages. So you're looking at the bottom scale now. If you press this one here in the middle, that's your engine battery voltage. Absolutely full to the top. And the top one there is the leisure battery voltage, which is also full to the very, very top, 100%. So that then means that you can go ahead and, you know, use all your lights, use 12-volt sockets, all that sort of stuff will work, and it will work quite well because you've got full power in the leisure battery. Just going to open the skylight a second because it's quite warm in here. Okay, so that's a control panel really. That's about all there is. The only other two things you might be interested in is if you had the electric hookup plugged in, you would have this little hookup symbol light up, this one here on the right. And if you started the engine up, you should have this little 12-volt battery to battery light come on here as well. So the 12-volt battery to battery light, if you want to call it that, or the split charger light is what it's really called. Essentially what that means is, what it does is that when you start the engine up, as you know, nearly every car in the world has an alternator, and what the alternator does is it basically spins the coil around, charges up, and then sends power to the engine battery to keep it, you know, charged up when you're driving. With a motorhome, or a decent brand of motorhome, you've normally got a split charger, which is exactly what this one's got. So what it does is it splits that power off between the engine and the alternator and the engine battery, splits it off to the leisure battery here as well, so that all the time that you're driving, the leisure battery is also being charged up at the same time. So that every time you come to a stop after a nice long drive, the leisure battery and the engine battery will both be really well topped up, which is obviously, you know, really good idea because, you know, it just means that you can give yourself a good charge up just by driving it. You don't have to put the hookup in every time you want to charge it up. The hookup will always give you more charge, and it will always charge better than the just having the engine running. But in saying that, if you just took this out for a decent drive every now and again, you shouldn't run into any issues at all. So also in this wardrobe, we've got a few bits that I need to run you through. So it's all pretty simple stuff, I will say. I have tried to tidy up some of the wiring. It was a little bit kind of all over the place, but done my best with it. So you've got your TV aerial, so that's a tilt and turn manual TV aerial. So if I undo this little cap here, I can then push the whole TV aerial up and then just basically spin it around and move it around wherever I need to get a decent signal. Make sure you tighten that up before you drive off. And then this part to the right of this is your TV aerial booster, which you can see at the moment has got power to it. You can turn it on and off with this little switch here. But basically once you've turned that on, that will then give you signal to the various points that are around the vehicle. So there's one that runs through to here, which is what this telly's plugged into here. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another one going somewhere else as well. It looks like there is. Wherever that might go, I don't know. Probably up here, by the looks of it. All right, so that's your TV aerial sort of system that you've got on this vehicle. The rest of it up there is all just sort of fuses and other boosters and things, so you don't need to worry about any of that really. But yeah, so I'll just close this back over. Right, so that is the wardrobe bits and pieces. I have put a new top, by the way, on your heater because the old one was all cracked up and broken. So that is a new top on your heater, so that's in good condition now. So you've got carbon monoxide and a smoke alarm just up here, which is, I mean, it's an okay place for them. It's supposed to be roughly there, but the problem is that the heater's right underneath it. So, but you know, I suppose it's a good thing in a way, but I don't know where else I would put them actually. It's probably the best place for them, thinking about it. Right, so next to the control panel here, we've got this little dial here which says Truma boiler. So that basically means that this is just your water heater, nothing to do with the heating whatsoever, and this is gas only. Just like the heater is, it's all gas only. But so assuming that you've got the gas switched on in the cupboard and the 12-volt switch switched on, you will then be able to press up for 50 degrees of hot water, and that's lit straight up, or down for 70. So if I leave that on now, just till the end of the video here, you know, about half an hour is about the sort of time that we recommend to wait for hot water. But you know, if you're just looking for a, you know, sort of warm water, you're not too fussed about how hot it is, then, you know, probably by the end of this video it'll be coming out warm by then. So I'll just try that out just for a little test. Obviously I have done a full habitation check, I know it works, but just for the sake of the video. Right, so behind us then we've got the 3-burner hob just here. You will need an igniter of some description to light any 3 of these up, because there isn't any ignition on it. That's the same for lots and lots of these cookers, it's not just this one. So that is your hob there. The only thing I will say, I mean, I don't feel like I need to show you how to actually use the thing because it's so easy. But the only thing I will say is that this little symbol here is very, very relevant. So that's obviously saying don't put this lid down when there's a gas flame lit. That's hopefully quite obvious. But the other thing I will mention is that if you need to try your best not to put the lid straight down after you turn one of these off. And the reason is that if you've just turned one of these off, it's still producing a lot of heat from the burner. So if you pull this lid down straight after you've turned it off, you're going to have really hot air underneath it and cold air on top. This glass will shatter, and I've seen it plenty of times. So please just leave these to cool down before putting the lid down. The fridge is, if I just get, there you go. The fridge is the next bit underneath here. So the fridge itself is really, really simple. You've got a freezer box up here, which actually needs a new, does it? Maybe. Right, so the fridge itself is very simple, but you just need to know a few bits about it. So it's a 3-way fridge, and it's made by Dometic. There will be a little sticker just inside there which will tell you the exact model number for this particular fridge, just in case you ever need any parts for it. I mean, obviously we're at the end of the phone if you need anything, but the little sticker in there is the thing that you need to see to find out what it is. So it works on gas, mains electric, and 12 volt. So the gas is any time that you've got the gas switched on, basically. So if we just do that now, just wait for it to light up. There you go. So you probably just heard it there. You heard the igniter start itself up, light itself up, and you know, that's it. That you don't have to do anything else. As long as this little light inside here is solid amber and it's not flashing at you, that's all you have to do. All right. So that's how you light it up on the gas. This will take a good few hours to actually get completely cold. All right. But the gas and the 240 volt here are the only 2 ways that the fridge will get cold. Okay. The bottom one here, the 12 volt, is only for once you've pre-cooled the fridge and want to retain the temperature whilst you drive. Okay, so you either, essentially what I'm trying to say is, before you leave to go on holiday, you either need to pre-cool it on the gas or the mains electric, and then just switch over to this 12 volt one here at the bottom for when you're driving. When you get to your campsite or wherever it is you're going, switch back up to one of the other 2. The reason that they put that in there, by the way, is because obviously you can't leave the gas, or you shouldn't leave the gas on when you're driving, and you obviously can't have a hookup cable plugged into it whilst you're driving either, so neither of those 2 would work. So you need another way of doing it just to retain the temperature. All right, and that is that. Under this little cupboard here, we've got your gas isolators. So they haven't got any stickers on them, which is a little bit of a downside to them. But if you wanted to isolate the gas from here, you can do it just by turning them 90 degrees. But I will just say, if you want to completely isolate the gas, just turn the bottles off in the cupboard. It's, you know, it's basically the difference between isolating it from here outside or isolating it from here inside. That's the only difference that makes. And in fact, if you've got a leak between the bottles and the manifold and you isolate the manifold, you're not removing the leak. If you turn the bottles off, absolutely all gas is isolated. So in my opinion, you're better off just turning the bottles off. But really the idea between for the manifolds is If there was a gas leak in the vehicle, you can isolate them one by one and decipher which, you know, appliance is leaking and blah, blah, blah. But you don't really need to worry about that at all. Your oven slash grill is up here. I would say that's probably never been used because it's all in its original wrapping. All you need to know really is that you've got an igniter switch here to light either one up, and your light at the back. I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't really ever go through those because it's so simple. It's, you know, it is what it is, just an oven and a grill. I will get to the heat. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll do that now. So the heater is just as simple as the rest of it, but if you don't know how to use it, sometimes they can seem a little bit confusing at the first, but they're really not. So as I said earlier, this is a gas only heater, so it's a Trumatic Ultra Heat is what this is called, and essentially the way it works is you've got an electronic ignition, and the way to actually light it up is all to do with this right hand side here. This part on the left is just for the fan. Okay, so if you want to put the fan on to pump the hot air around, you push this button to the left and then select your fan speed. That will then pump air out to any of these little circular vents that are around the vehicle. There will be a few more. I can see there's one just there. There's one in that downstairs cupboard and the bathroom as well. I don't know why I said downstairs just then. It's not really downstairs, but whatever you want to call it. So that is your fan speed setting there and the fan. All you need to do to actually light it up, you've got a little peephole in here, which you won't be able to see anything at the moment because I haven't lit it up yet. All you need to do, turn the dial round to about 2 or 3. Straight away you can hear that igniter going, can't you? You can hear it's clicking. Probably won't be able to actually see it just yet, wherever it might be. All you need to do, when you get to that clicking stage, about 2 or 3, push this down. And if you watch what happens now when I push down, there you go, the flame's lit up. So that's your pilot flame. I'm still holding on to it at the moment because that one on the right hand side is your pilot. Still holding on. I'm just basically at the moment just allowing it to warm up a little bit. And then all I'm going to do from there is lift up on this and twist it around. So you can see there now the actual main flame is kicked in as well to the left of the pilot, and it's going to go out. So that's completely normal. Good thing to show you actually. I'm just leaving it alone. I haven't touched anything. May well go out again, but no, I don't think it's going to. So all that means is when it did that just then, it just means that the thermocouple isn't quite warm enough to allow the gas to carry on coming through yet. So that's why I held it down for a few seconds just to warm it up in there before I lifted up and turned around. Once you've lifted it up and turned it around, you can go to whatever number you want. I would recommend leaving it on around sort of 6 or 7 because that will basically, you know, these heaters get seriously hot really quickly. And so, you know, you see it's on full blast at the moment. You know, after about sort of 2 or 3 minutes, if we put this fan on, we're going to have hot air pumping around to here. So this van, even though it's a bigger sort of motorhome, it's still a very small sort of area to heat up. And even though this is quite a small heater as well, they're very, very efficient at doing it. So you don't need these heaters on for very long, is what I'm trying to say. Once you've had this on for a little while, when you come to turning it off, all you have to do is turn it all the way around to the 0. And if you look in there, the flame should be out. There you go. I would always recommend to leave this fan running for a little bit, just to cool the system down more evenly. So if you turn this off and don't have the fan running, you'll be amazed how much heat comes out the top of here. It also saves the bottoms of these cupboards here from warping and sort of melting, which is something that really often happens. Normally when you've got one of these heaters, all of this will be sort of coming away from the bottom of the thing and all that sort of stuff. So it's good that it's all in good nick actually. Right, so that is the heating. What else do I need to show you? Right, so you've got the air conditioning unit on the roof as well. So the aircon unit is a Tel-Air aircon unit. They still make those now, I think. So the only thing I will point out is that this won't work unless the electric hookup is plugged in. Okay, this is a 240 volt appliance. So just really important to point that out. You have also got, I will just mention, I'm not trying to hide anything. When I did the hab check, this remote was very temperamental. So what I did is I put a little bit of paper or cardboard or something, I can't remember, behind this to hold the batteries sort of in place, because that seemed to be the issue. And it seems to work perfectly now. So I've put new batteries in it as well, so you shouldn't need to replace them for a long time. But just don't open this up if you can, because it probably stopped working again. But basically all you need to do is, once you've got the electric hookup plugged in, turn it on with this top button here, or this one here actually, I think, the orange one. Turn it on, and then you can just set your temperature and it will just start pumping out cool air. It really is as easy as that. It works really well. There you go. In this little cupboard here, we've got the microwave. Again, that's another 240 volt appliance, so that will not work without a hookup plugged in. What else do we have? Anything else to show you? Right, so I think the bathroom's the last thing to show you, really. So the actual bathroom itself, you've got the shower in here, which you have got a nice shower curtain for, to stop any water coming into this separate area here. Because we sold this to the last owner as well, I do know that this is all new. So this whole sink here is fiberglass and new. So the old one that was all the old brittle plastic had broken up and wasn't any good. So this is all nice and new. So you shouldn't get any issues with that whatsoever. And the only thing I'd need to show you really is the toilet, which is the part that I only ever really show the toilets really, because the rest of it's nice and easy. All you need to know really is that your flush comes out from here. So you press the blue button, and then that will flush into the toilet itself. And then when you want to drain it out into the cassette, pull the handle to the right. That's drained into the cassette. And then pull the handle back. And that is it. That's how you use the toilet. So, just make sure there's nothing else I'm missing, which I don't think there is. So, I think I've covered everything there is. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.